Yo. So, I want to talk about associative play. Others talk about associative play. And I think what's important about that, I discovered this a while ago, is that when people reach this enlightenment thing, you know, they can either take the left-hand path, make it real serious. Remember I was saying they bring the unclean spirit back in the house. They take it real literal. Because you do, you feel like you solved everything. You feel like you figured out everything in the world. Which is, you know, like the world within. So, you know, really in enlightenment, you know, people, they figure out a lot within themselves. And the Buddhists, they laugh at that. They say, oh, this is just another chance to start again. And, you know, it is. And in some ways, it can be something a little more. We don't ever want to hold ourselves down to limits and assertions. So, you know, I never really knew much going into this. So I don't think I had any, you know, the prior influence would be like limitations. I don't think I really had any of that. So I kind of just, you know, plus it was like a real bad spot in my life. I didn't think I could really mess anything up. So, you know, I just had this whole experience. It was what I later found out to be enlightenment. And what associative play did was it helped be more like a middle path, make more like a middle path out of the whole process, rather than a total left hand or a total right hand thing. You know, the right hand path to me is like ultra pacification, where we start suppressing things in ourselves like anger and passions, which is a lot of what Buddhists do. I don't necessarily do that. I kind of do, I guess, what they call reality hacking or rewiring or whatever, and I make other outlets for that stuff. You know, and then there comes timing and placement, and then attunement's really important, which is associative play. So associative play is important because it helps curb all that left-hand path stuff, like the Messiah complex, which is very real. People do get that because of the feeling they get within when they reach these enlightenment spots. I'm not talking about the fake enlightenment that fucking academia pushes. You know, I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about the real psychology, from real experience. You know, going through it and seeing all like what I considered pitfalls and things like that. One of them was like the Messiah complex, but you don't take it seriously. You know, to just be as we are is the state that we reach in enlightenment, to just be. You know, and there's all sorts of paths you can take from there. And I believe everyone has their own specific set of God-given talents in that way too, where also those talents will become unlocked at those times, whether it's sixth sense, psychic, other stuff. You know, I believe we all have these higher sense capabilities that perhaps have been hidden from us for a long time. So that's what I'm most excited about in all this. Not that I want to be like a big speaker out there or do like speeches. I really don't care about that. I believe that has its own sort of effects and stuff like that. You know, I could handle it and do all that. I'm just not really into it. I'll probably do it anyway. I'll probably do everything just to try it at least once with caution, you know, in an associative play manner, so I don't get attached to it. That's another thing. Associative play helps you not get attached. So I'm not getting attached to all this stuff. You know, it's not like an addiction for me, whereas knowledge or power can become addicting for people. I just don't really care about all that. And that's because you continue to carry your cross even after, you know, enlightenment and stuff like that. You know, the cross never really goes away. There's always a deduction factor, a subtraction factor, which is wisdom, to gain knowledge, add things every day. To gain wisdom, subtract things every day. That's one of the things that Lao Tzu said. So any additions to the I am, we attract our attachment and need for them, which are ideas. Then that would make what you see as an ideologue. But you can't really go after ideologues unless you really know how to solve that. So you have to have your house in perfect order, according to Jordan Peterson and the many who follow him. Now, if you know anything about God or you have God, you don't really have to order your house or do any of that for you. Having a higher power is really beneficial in those regards. Or else I would never made it to this point today. I was a really stupid kid. I was lost, confused. I was suicidal. I didn't want to live anymore. Make a long story short, I could ruin anything, even suicide. So all my life, anything I tried, I would get the opposite. And, you know, that's just kind of like a funny inside joke between me and God. It's like the moment he showed up, it's like life changed, but it was still that predicament where I wanted to die, but I got life. It was really weird. Or, you know, I would always want this out here, and I would get the opposite. Or, you know, I'd always want good, and I would get, like, totally shitstorm with, like, bad. You know, take me, like, long times to get somewhere. You know, you meet a girl or something, and that would be, like, my worst luck night ever. Car would break down, or something would happen to just blow the whole thing. And, you know, it was like that forever. I almost wondered if it just wasn't in the universe's plans for me to get married or be with anyone. As far as forced monogamy goes, I'm pretty much content where I'm at. And that's what love is, to just be content in yourself. So for all I know, I could die alone. I don't place demands on the universe, because then I'll get lonely. And loneliness is like placing demands and ultimatums on the universe. That can get us real fucked up. So that's one of the things that, you know, depression can spawn from that too. Loneliness, depression. You know, we're putting demands and limits, which are limits on ourselves anyway, because we don't really know what the universe has in store for us. It's like unfathomable. Our potential is so high that nobody could even say what our potential is. The fact that they try is kind of weird out there. Whether they're in science trying to say women are this and men are that and these are the stats. I don't even play into that shit. I'm like Socrates. I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. I love to be surprised. So that's what I go for, the mystery and surprise. I don't really go for, you know, knowledge and wanting to know or having to know. It's the having to know that kind of gets us in trouble. Have to know if someone's out there to be with me. Have to know that I'm going to be doing this later. Have to know. We call this like planning and all sorts of other shit, which is like, you know, guises to me for entryways into bad thinking, subtleties into like worse thinking later. There's a lot of those little subtle traps, like pride. Pride is a subtle killer. You know, I walk around messy hair and everything. I don't really have pride. There's nothing there for me to swallow. And at the same time, I don't hold others to that predicament or to that ultimatum. I don't make others impress me. But I do play an associative play with them, where there's a sequence of etiquette to, you know, ask questions, modesty rather than assume. And I won't really talk or open up to people that assume. And that's what I do. I kind of hit them with like a game first, a pre-mac principle. I learned this in dog training. Rather than first impressions, do like initiations. That way you know people a little better. You get mixed up with the wrong types a lot less. That's all.